The green revolution just died in the dirt of a Peruvian mountain road. While you were distracted by the flashing lights of the stock market casino and the political circus in Washington, the literal arteries of the global economy were just severed with a dull knife. It is not a correction. It is not a dip. It is a cardiac arrest of the industrial world. As of this morning, January 20th, 2026. The Las Bambas mining corridor in Peru has been completely choked off by protesters who have realized the one truth that your television refuses to tell you. That truth is simple. They have the copper, you have worthless paper, and they are not trading anymore. This is not just about some remote mine in South America that you cannot find on a map. This is the kill shot for the entire electric vehicle industry, the artificial intelligence infrastructure, and the renewable energy grid that the politicians promised would save the world. They lied to you. They built a fantasy world on the assumption that cheap resources would flow forever from the global south to the consuming west. That flow just hit a brick wall. The protesters in Peru have re-established the blockade, effectively paralyzing one of the most critical copper supplies on the planet. But here is the secret that the financial media is terrified to whisper. When you choke a copper mine, you do not just kill the supply of copper. You strangle the supply of silver. You need to understand the geology of collapse to understand why your bank account is about to be vaporized. Silver is rarely found alone. It is a byproduct. It lives in the dirt next to copper, lead, and zinc. When the Las Bambas mine stops moving rocks because the road is blocked by burning tires and angry locals, the silver that comes out of that ground stops too. This is happening at the exact moment that the demand for these metals is vertical. You cannot build a Tesla without copper. You cannot build a solar panel without silver. You cannot run an artificial intelligence data center without miles of copper wiring and silver contacts. The physical world is going on strike, and the financial world is still pretending that it can print a solution. You cannot print copper. You cannot print silver. You can only print the currency that is currently losing its value faster than an ice cube in an oven. This event in Peru is the match that lights the fuse on what the insiders are calling greenflation. This is not the inflation of the 1970s. This is worse. This is structural scarcity. This is the moment where the money you have saved to buy a car or renovate your home becomes irrelevant because the materials simply do not exist at any price. The cost of production for every single piece of technology you own is about to explode to levels that are mathematically impossible for the middle class to afford. But the nightmare does not stop in Peru. If this was just one mine, maybe the system could absorb the blow. But this is a coordinated suicide of the global supply chain. Look at what is happening in Mexico on the same cursed day. The government of Mexico, the country that used to be the Saudi Arabia of silver, has decided to commit economic suicide. They have banned open-pit mining. Equinox Gold has suspended the Los Filos mine indefinitely. They are shutting down the engines of production. The projected deficit of silver for the year 2026 was supposed to be 200 million ounces. That was the optimistic lie. With Mexico closing its doors and Peru blocking the roads, the real deficit is going to be 400 million ounces. Do the math. We are running out of the very materials required to maintain modern civilization, and the governments of the world are actively preventing us from getting more. This is why I call it a controlled demolition. They are not incompetent. Nobody is this incompetent by accident. They are purposefully breaking the supply chain to force a reset. They want you desperate. They want you hungry. They want you owning nothing. When the copper stops flowing, the factories stop running. When the factories stop running, the workers get fired. When the workers get fired, they cannot pay their mortgages. This is the domino effect that starts in a muddy road in the Andes and ends with a foreclosure sign on your front lawn. And what is the financial establishment doing while the physical world burns? They are playing games with your life. Look at the COMEX market in New York. The price of silver on the screen is crashing. Does that make sense to you? We have a historic shortage of metal. We have mines closing in Mexico. We have blockades in Peru. We have a war brewing in the Middle East. And yet, the price of silver is down. Why? Because the criminals at the CME Group raised the margin requirements by 47%. They changed the rules of the casino because the house was losing. They forced the small players to sell their positions to cover the new margin costs. It is a margin call on the little guy to save the big banks who are shorting the market. They are selling paper contracts that claim to represent silver that does not exist. It is a fraud so massive that it makes Enron look like a lemonade stand. They are smashing the price on the screen to hide the panic behind the scenes. They want you to look at the dropping price and think that silver is worthless. They want you to sell your real metal for their fake paper. Do not fall for the trap. Look at the real signal. Look at Shanghai. While the price in New York is falling, the premium for physical silver in Shanghai has exploded to over $12 an ounce. The Chinese are not stupid. They are buying every single ounce of physical metal they can get their hands on. They are draining the vaults of the London Bullion Market Association. They are taking delivery. They know that the paper game is over. They know that the blockade in Peru and the ban in Mexico mean that the era of cheap abundance is gone forever. They are preparing for a world where he who holds the gold and silver makes the rules. This is the great disconnect. The price you see on your phone is a lie. It is a ghost. The real price is what you have to pay to get the metal in your hand. And right now, that price is skyrocketing. The West is selling paper promises. The East is buying physical reality. The flow of wealth is moving from West to East, and it is never coming back. You are witnessing the bankruptcy of the American empire in real time, disguised as a market correction. And do not think for a second that this is limited to metals. The contagion is spreading to the oceans. The same day that Peru locked down the copper, the shipping giant CMA-CGM ordered their ships to turn around. They canceled the route through the Suez Canal. They are fleeing. They know something is coming. You do not reroute a massive container ship around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks to the delivery time and millions of dollars in fuel costs, unless you are terrified of what is waiting for you in the Red Sea. This is the kinetic event we warned you about. The intelligence signals are screaming red. The United States has moved B-2 Spirit stealth bombers to Diego Garcia. Donald Trump is threatening regime change in Iran. The internet in Iran has been cut off for 24 days. This is the silence before the deafening boom. When the missiles start flying, the Suez Canal will not just be dangerous, it will be a parking lot. The Strait of Hormuz will close. The oil will stop, so now you have the perfect storm. You have the copper supply cut off in Peru. You have the silver supply criminalized in Mexico. You have the shipping lanes severed in the Middle East. And you have a financial system that is leveraged to the moon on the bet that everything will stay normal. Normal is dead. Normal was a luxury of the past. The future is volatility. The future is scarcity. The future is pain. Imagine the grocery store in 3 weeks. The ships are taking the long way around Africa. The cost of shipping has tripled. The cost of fuel has doubled because of the war risk. The trucks are running on expensive diesel. The packaging for the food is more expensive. Everything you touch is going to cost more. And that is if you can find it at all. The report from Kearney says the supply chain is in a state of permanent disruption. That is corporate speak for we cannot get the goods to the shelves. The era of just-in-time delivery is over. It died today, January 20th, 2026. Corporations are going to start panic buying. They are going to hoard inventory like squirrels before a nuclear winter. When Apple and Tesla start panic buying copper and silver, there will be nothing left for anyone else. They will pay any price to keep their factories open. And they will pass that cost directly to you. This is the stagflation that will crush the soul of the consumer. Stagnant economy. Exploding prices. You are being squeezed between the rock of resource nationalism and the hard place of monetary debasement. The bond market knows it. The yield on the 30-year Treasury bond just hit 5%. The bond vigilantes are selling American debt because they know the United States is broke. Trump is threatening tariffs on Europe. He is starting a trade war at the exact moment we need friends. Who is going to buy American debt when America is putting tariffs on their goods? Nobody. So the Federal Reserve will have to be the buyer of last resort. They will have to print the money to buy the bonds to keep the government open. And when they print that money, they pour gasoline on the inflation fire that was started by the shortages in Peru and Mexico. It is a death spiral. There is no mathematical exit. This brings us back to the copper corridor in Peru. That blockade is a symbol of the New World Order. The locals are tired of seeing their wealth dug up and shipped to New York and London for pennies. They want a cut, or they want it to stay in the ground. This is happening everywhere. Botswana is holding back diamonds. Indonesia held back nickel. Now Mexico holds back silver. The Global South is revolting against the resource extraction model of the West. They are realizing that the paper dollars we give them are IOUs from a bankrupt nation. Why would they trade valuable copper and silver for digital entries in a database controlled by a country that weaponizes its currency? They wouldn't, and they aren't. The BRICS nations are building their own system. India is proposing a digital currency link for the BRICS bloc right now. They are building the rails for a trade system that does not use the dollar. When that system goes live, the demand for dollars will collapse. All those dollars that are currently overseas will come flooding back home to the United States. And when they do, you will see hyperinflation that makes the current price hikes look like a discount sale. The elites know this. Why do you think the Central Bank of Poland is buying 150 tons of gold right now? They are buying at the all-time high. They do not care about the price. They care about survival. They are dumping fiat currency and loading up on the only asset that has zero counterparty risk. They are exiting the burning theater while telling you to sit down and watch the movie. Equinox Gold shutting down the Los Filos mine is not an accident. It is a strategic withdrawal. Capital goes where it is treated best. And right now, mining capital is being treated like a criminal. So the capital is leaving, the mines are closing, the supply is vanishing, but the demand is not vanishing. The demand is desperate. This is the squeeze. Not a gamma squeeze, not a short squeeze, a life squeeze. The walls are closing in on your standard of living. The blockade in Peru is just one brick in the wall. The blocked Suez Canal is another. The closed Mexican mines are another. The tariffs are another. You are trapped inside a burning building, and the doors are being locked from the outside. So what do? Do you sit there and cry about the unfairness of it all? Do you wait for the government to send you a stimulus check that will buy you half a loaf of bread? Or do you act? The window of opportunity is closing. The price of silver on the screen is fake. It is a gift. It is a subsidy from the banking cartel to the smart money. They are keeping the price low so they can exit their short positions. But they are accidentally giving you a chance to buy real money at a discount. But that window is slamming shut. Soon, you will not be able to find silver at any price. The premiums will be 100%. The dealers will be empty. The mints will be closed. You need to become your own central bank. You need to secure your own supply chain. If you rely on the grocery store, you are vulnerable. If you rely on the bank, you are vulnerable. If you rely on the dollar, you are the victim. The blockade in Peru is a warning. It is a warning that the physical world has leverage over the financial world. You cannot eat Bitcoin. You cannot live in a stock portfolio. You need physical things. You need food. You need water. You need energy. And you need the metals that preserve your purchasing power when the currency collapses. The copper blockade is the canary in the coal mine. But the canary didn't just die. It exploded. The gas is filling the room. You can smell it if you stop listening to the lies. The smell is the stench of a rotting system. They will tell you that the blockade will be lifted. They will tell you that diplomacy will work. They will tell you that the ships will go back to the Suez. They will tell you that inflation is transitory. They have told you these lies for years. Are you still listening? Every time they speak, they are buying time for themselves. They are not buying time for you. They are selling their stocks. They are buying gold. They are building bunkers. They are buying farms. They are doing exactly what I am telling you to do, while they go on television and tell you to buy an index fund. The hypocrisy is nauseating. The betrayal is total. The social contract is broken. Look at the timeline. January 20th, 2026. Mark this date. This is the day the gears ground to a halt. The day the friction became too much for the machine. The day the illusion of frictionless trade was shattered by angry men on a mountain road and terrified captains on the high seas. The chaos is here. It is not coming next year. It is not a prediction. It is a headline. CMA CGM reverses decision. Equinox Gold suspends operations. Peru protesters block corridor. Iran cuts internet. These are not isolated events. They are the synchronized heartbeat of a dying patient. You have a choice today. You can be the victim who watches their savings evaporate in a hyperinflationary bonfire, wondering why a car costs $100,000 and why the shelves are empty. Or you can be the victor who saw the signs, who read the writing on the wall, and who prepared. Go out and get what you need. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for the bottom. There is no bottom in a currency collapse. There is only the abyss. The copper is gone. The silver is going. The ships are turning around. The war is starting. The banks are lying. The system has failed. You are the backup plan. They will call you crazy. They will call you a hoarder. They will call you a doom-monger. Let them talk. You will be the one with the food. You will be the one with the silver. You will be the one who survives. The mathematics of the collapse are undeniable. Supply is down. Demand is up. Money supply is infinite. Trust is zero. Solve the equation. The answer is zero. The value of your fiat currency is zero. It is gone. The stability you thought you had is gone. Wake up. Prepare. Now,